Chapter 4. Is it worth breaking up over sex? 4. Is it worth breaking up over sex? The most basic test of the viability of any modern relationship involves a criterion that would have sounded extremely odd to a French aristocrat in 1755, to a Scottish crofter in 1952, or indeed to most people who have existed since the emergence of our species. But that is now universally accepted and hard to overlook. An active and fulfilling sex life. It is forcefully suggested to us that it would be peculiar and, in certain ways, rather suspect to remain with anyone for any length of time if there were no intense sexual connection. Correspondingly, we could count on immediate sympathy and deep understanding if we were to announce that we had split because sex was no longer working. If we are looking for a decent reason to leave, unsatisfactory sex seems to be all we ever need to cite. Yet we might also recognize that there is something peculiar and perhaps a little preposterous in this stance. Would we really leave someone because of the quality or frequency of a feeling that lasts only minutes, and is, from certain angles, no more or less pleasurable than a fantastic dessert or an exciting moment on the dance floor? Would one really shatter children, destroy a family, ruin assets and put oneself through hell for something like this? How seriously should we take the claims of sex? Part of the reason we get confused is that sex is both a physical and an emotional phenomenon, a duality that can make it hard for us to determine the correct place it might have in our ledger of reasons to stay or to leave. There can be sex that has about as much meaning as a game of tennis and sex that seems to be a conduit to another person's soul. The act is the same, but its significance can vary beyond measure. We might at this point venture a large claim. No one ever feels a need to leave a relationship because of bad sex. They may say and be inwardly convinced that poor lovemaking is the problem, but the real issue almost certainly lies elsewhere. Equally non-existent or physically awkward sex can be bearable, so long as other things are in place. What really cannot be borne and truly is the grounds for flight is an absence of affection. The entire point of a relationship hangs on the feeling of being witnessed, understood, accepted, stimulated, listened to, bolstered and cherished by another person. Without this, we might as well be eating on our own for the long term. But crucially, how affection is expressed and intimated is open to a wide degree of variation. It could be done with limbs and lips, with caresses and the interplay of fantasies. But there might be other ways as well. It could be done through someone holding our hand or curling tight behind us at night, listening to our sorrows very carefully or keeping our needs closely in their minds. A light, sensitive kiss when we return home might be worth more than intercourse in terms of its ability to generate a sense of connection. The rejection of our advances threatens to be distressing not so much because of the physical pleasures we're missing out on, as because we carry within us an ongoing requirement for evidence of affection. We want to be reassured as directly as possible that we retain a significant place in a lover's heart. The lack of sex is not really the problem, it is the lack of closeness and tenderness it implies. There's a huge difference between someone who is tired or not in the mood, because they are preoccupied by a meeting tomorrow or a crying child in the next room, but who nevertheless understands the intensity of our longings, and a partner for whom our advances and desires are unreasonable irritants and symbols of a closeness in which they no longer have any interest. The practical result may be the same, there is no sex, but the emotional dynamics are entirely different. In the first case we can feel loved and wanted even though, sadly, our partner can't respond. In the second case it is very likely time to leave. We could almost forgo the acting out of many of our desires if we knew that a partner could understand why these mattered to us and could be tender with us around the house, even if, because of their own intimate history, their relationship to the erotic ran in a different direction. Given enough affection between two people, the fact that one of them, for complex reasons, craves to perform certain physical acts whether with their partner or with someone else, and the other one has no such appetite need not be a terminal threat. What is fatal is not that our partner can't enact our desires, but that they meet us with defensiveness, coldness, judgment, or insult. In order to see whether a relationship might be saved, we need to accept that we may not directly be facing a sex issue, but one of underlying distance. It might theoretically be survivable if a partner never sought to have an orgasm with their companion or never fully engaged with a fantasy, so long as both parties were able to feel genuinely wanted in other ways. The distinction matters because, if we eventually split up, we need to know the real reason. If we persist in thinking the problem is a lack of sex, or not the kind of sex we want, we may misread what we are in essence seeking from another person. We are not after the perfect sexual partner, as we're often taught to think, We're after something yet more critical and often harder to secure, a good enough source of affection and understanding. We might, in another but better relationship, end up having the same rather negligible quantity of sex, but no longer resent the paucity because we have found a raft of other, and in many ways more stable, ways of feeling assured of another's love.